for the full dismantling of Iran's nuclear program. What does this mean for diplomacy? Joining us live to unpack it all, we have Harley Lippman, Executive Committee member of the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee and founder of Genesis 10. Harley, great to have you with us. President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, now saying Iran must fully dismantle its nuclear program. This is a shift from his earlier stance. What will this tougher policy ultimately accomplish, and will it make it harder ultimately for the U.S. to strike a deal with Tehran?
This is the appropriate policy that the United States needs to have with Iran, because it will be extremely difficult to monitor Iran. They're very smart. This is a country and a people that invented chess. They're extremely sophisticated at hiding, evading, delaying. If you give them a finger, they'll take a hand. You can't trust them. Everything they're going to do will be based on their religious ideology, which is based on destroying America as the great Satan and Israel as the little Satan. Even as Iran is now beginning to engage in talks with the United States, they announced that they will destroy Israel. Believe them when they say things like that. That's the danger of Western countries engaging in arrogance. And I define arrogance as when you think you know better what your adversary means than their own words.
Harley, the next round of talks, as you mentioned, expected to begin on Saturday. What do you expect to be discussed, and what leverage might the United States be trying to flex here?
Well, the leverage the United States has is that the Iranian economy is severely weakened. Their inflation is at over 20%. Their currency is very much down against the dollar. There's huge unemployment and unrest. And there's hundreds of billions of dollars that has been frozen by the US government and European nations. So they want this money, this hundreds of billions of dollars. They also want sanctions relief. There are sanctions that have been put on Iran. So Iran is eager to sign almost anything because they believe that they could ride out the Trump administration. They think that Trump will be around for another 3 years and 9 months or so. So they could outlast him the way they easily outlasted Obama and Joe Biden. And they're most likely looking to use this as a way of continuing to develop their nuclear weapon and just simply trying to hide this from the United States.
Still on the foreign policy front, CNN reporting a document obtained by from the State Department stating that the Trump administration is considering changes to nearly 30 overseas embassies and consulates, many of which in Europe and Africa. Do you see Secretary Rubio supporting these closures, and what would be the net effect of such cuts on, I guess one might say, U.S. diplomatic capability around the world?
Well, today you don't need physical property like in anything. People work from home. I'm not in the studio. You could be on Zoom or other ways of communicating. So having physical property somewhere is much less valuable than it used to be. And this fits in the Trump administration's policies of focusing on efficiencies, cutting waste, and pulling back from the world in many ways. But I want to go back to Iran again, because this is a nation that has stated that they want to destroy the United States. And I believe they will do that. So I think that what probably happened, and I'm speculating as a theory, that the present administration has said that Iran can enrich 3.67% of uranium for peaceful nuclear purposes, and that a lot of his cabinet staff and friends have said to the president that that's very dangerous. If you give them that, that's gonna give them the opportunity to increase that enrichment, and they will develop a nuclear weapon with a missile capability of firing it at Israel, Europe, and ultimately the United States. So the only way you're really gonna get peace in the Middle East is for the United States to do what they did in Libya, which was to completely dismantle the nuclear infrastructure and then completely eliminate it. The problem with that is 8 years after Gaddafi did that, he was in the street hiding as radical Islamists were trying to kill him. And the feeling from other nations like Iran is that, well, if we do what Libya did, look what happened. Gaddafi was overthrown. And had Gaddafi kept nuclear weapons, perhaps he wouldn't have been overthrown. So Iran is very skeptical about agreeing to this. But if Iran does not do this, I hope the United States will show that it must eliminate nuclear weapons in Iran, because that's the only hope of having peace in the region, because they're the country that fuel all the wars and the terrorist actions in that region, and they have to be stopped. After all, they fired hundreds of ballistic missiles into Israel when no one thought they would ever do that. So they're very capable of firing a nuclear weapon at America's friends and allies.
Harley Lippman, thank you for joining.
My pleasure.